So far, 2021 has been a really good year for gaming monitor enthusiasts. Fast 4K 144Hz monitors are becoming a thing. You have Quad HD monitors that are getting even faster with their 240Hz refresh rates, and we're even seeing monitors that can do HDR right. But unfortunately, most of these new high-end monitors cost a ton, and not everyone can or is willing to spend $500 to $1,000 or even more on a new monitor. So, if you're looking for something more affordable, this video is for you, because next to me right here, I have the Viewsonic VX2718-2KPC-MHD, which is a 27-inch monitor with a Quad HD VA panel, 165Hz refresh rate, and a needlessly complicated name. And at the time of filming, this monitor was $270 in the US or 260 euros here in the Netherlands, which makes it the cheapest 27-inch Quad HD gaming monitor I could buy. Let's check it out. This video is brought to you by Viewsonic and their Prime series power supplies. These top quality power supplies are very efficient, they're whisper quiet, extremely reliable, and my go-to choice for most of my test rigs and builds around here. And to make the deal even sweeter, Viewsonic wraps it all up in a cozy 12-year-long warranty. Check them out using the links in the description below. As you can see, this is a pretty basic looking monitor, but it still has reasonably solid stand, which is usually a big issue with a lot of affordable monitors. But it doesn't offer much in terms of flexibility, so you can tilt the panel, but there is no height adjustment and you cannot swivel it or rotate it. If you want to add some flexibility later on, you can VESA mount it, but that's pretty much it. The design itself is pretty simple. I personally don't really think a curve is necessary with a 27-inch monitor, but many of the affordable VA panels are curved, so Viewsonic didn't really have much of a choice there. The bezels are not too thick, and they didn't go for the usual over-the-top gaming look, which makes it blend easily and it won't look out of place on most desks. I would have liked to see at least some form of cable management though, to easily hide the cables, especially because the connections are kind of sticking out on the side of the monitor, as you can see, instead of being kind of hidden underneath. Speaking of connections, you get one display port, two HDMI 2.0 ports, and a headphone jack, as well as the power connector for the external brick. There is no USB hub, but the monitor does have some very basic speakers. They're not really great though, so I would actually strongly recommend using headphones or a proper speaker set instead. A significant difference between a cheaper monitor and a more premium one is in the OSD control. Here you get a few simple buttons to navigate a pretty basic OSD. It's pretty limited, but considering its price and the fact that most of you won't change OSD settings all the time, I'm gonna give it a pass. Because it is trying to be as affordable as possible, it doesn't come with any special features, so let's just talk about the most important thing on a monitor, the actual panel. And there's some things that this monitor does well, but there are also some clear downsides. So let's start with the good things first. It actually has a really good contrast, even for a VA panel. At almost 4500 to 1, it is well above average, and the color performance and calibration are pretty reasonable too. The panel doesn't cover the entire sRGB spectrum, it's lacking just a little bit of green and red, but it's close enough for a cheap option like this one. The factory calibration is actually decent considering the gamut limitations, so I would say don't buy this if you're a professional content creator, but I would call it completely fine if you want to casually edit some photos when you're not playing games. The viewing angles are also pretty good, and there is almost no visible backlight bleed, at least on my model right here. But there are also a couple of things that this panel is struggling with, and the main one is the maximum brightness of only 266 nits. And this is probably the biggest issue you need to think about if you're considering this monitor, because while it will be completely fine for gaming at night or in a dark room, it is just not light enough to use in a remotely lit room. Now, another weakness is the uniformity. It is mostly caused by the bottom of the monitor showing significantly lower brightness than the middle and the top, with the corners showing closer to 200 nits, while the middle shows 250. And when brightness is already so limited, this is definitely noticeable with this monitor. But speed-wise, Viewsonic actually shows pretty good performance, especially for a VA panel. The total latency, so that's the input lag plus pixel response time, is around 2 milliseconds behind the 360Hz ROG PG259QNR, which is basically the fastest monitor you can buy right now. And this is with using the advanced overdrive mode, which doesn't show any noticeable overshoot. Unfortunately, that cannot be said for the ultra-fast overdrive mode that is barely faster while showing really significant overshoot, so I would skip that mode completely. And they also included a separate 1 millisecond mode in the OSD, but that one limits the brightness of the panel to an unusable 45 nits, meaning that you can barely see anything on the screen unless you're in a pitch black room. So you should totally forget about that mode as well. But if you just use the advanced overdrive mode, gaming performance is going to be pretty smooth and you should be pretty fine even in the most competitive titles. But the other thing that's common with cheaper VA panels is ghosting, and there's definitely more ghosting on this panel compared to a decent fast IPS alternatives on the market, like the Gigabyte M27Q, for example. Now, this monitor does offer adaptive sync, and even though it doesn't state specifically if it's G-Sync compatible or not, I had no issues with any games so far using an NVIDIA GPU. And that's pretty much it. There are no other gaming related or any other features to talk about. HDR isn't supported either, but that is probably not something you should care about if you're looking for an affordable gaming monitor. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. I know that you can find cheaper gaming monitors on the market if you're willing to go for lower 1080p resolution. But I personally think that a high resolution makes a huge difference if you use your PC for, more things than just playing games. But does it make sense to get this very affordable Viewsonic, or should you maybe consider spending a bit more to get something better? I mean, there are clear downsides that you need to take in consideration here. It is not ergonomic, it has a very low brightness and poor uniformity, and it does show some ghosting. So if you can add another €100 or dollars to get something slightly better, you might end up with a few downsides less. But all that aside, it is still a decent monitor for its price. It is well built, the contrast is really good, color performance is quite okay, and it's quite fast for a VA panel. So if you're on a very tight budget and you like to work and play in a dark room or a dimly lit room, this is not a bad monitor to consider. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this pretty short and very to-the-point review. If you did, please click that like button and subscribe to Tech Testers to never miss an upload. Bye guys, and see you in the next one.